please welcome to the stage the panelists. Mr. Michael Utsler, Chief Operations Officer, Woodside Energy. Mr. Stefano, CEO, Saipem. Mr. Paul Mayland, Chief Operating Officer, Cairn Energy. And Mr. Reinhard Ontyd, Chief Commercial Officer, Nord Stream 2 AG. And your moderator for this session, Mr. Ukpong, Chief Global Operations Officer, BHGE.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining this panelist session today. We are going to be talking about how we bring global capabilities to meet local needs. Today, countries are looking to develop their assets, develop their local reserves, and they turn to global companies to help them achieve these needs, whether from a technology standpoint, from a process standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint. But there's always that right balance we need to strike.
I think whether you are operating in your own home environments or you are a guest within another country, the first things that we hear in our operations and from an expectation standpoint is local content, local jobs, and with success, local supply. And understanding those three simple drivers for where you're being hosted then allows us to look at and to work with respective governments and entities to understand, as we look at it, through three buckets. What is the true local content and the capabilities of the local environment to meet the needs of the operations and activities?
People talk a lot about collaboration, that no one's actually seems to have defined it. So I'll put my own definition out, which is basically finding common ground and building a solution around it. So if we work with governments or joint venture partners and we're talking about collaboration, is let's sit down and agree what we agree, which is the foundation, and then build a solution around that.
You start from the standpoint of remembering that you are given one mouth and two sets of ears, and the importance of listening first and working with the host to understand the nature of what are the issues, what are the capabilities, where are their priorities, and from that to then build an understanding of, so what locally can you supply, support, and deliver, and how can you develop that for the future? What regionally, as I mentioned in my opening comments, can you access and will be used and supportive to the nature of development of both in-country and regionally those skills? And then I think importantly, and the reason we're setting on this stage is on a global level, the BHGE as an example, as an enterprise level global capability of providing services, skills, capabilities, and opportunities into many, many countries, and the bringing of the lessons learned and the sharings for all of us as companies, small, and we're relatively small to large. It's important that we have partners of choice of the scale and magnitude of a Baker Hughes GE and others like you who bring that knowledge and capability that we simply can't develop as a company.
The new world is going to be made up much more from a collaborative sort of relationship rather than opposition and confrontation stands. I think the message which is coming very clear from our industry that together with the digital revolution, we have to develop a different way of dealing with our clients as contractors and obviously with our stakeholders and with the countries where we operate. And that is going to require an effort in the sense that technology is not enough. Willingness of people is not enough. I think we have to do some work on the compliance side of the processes.
I think the environmental social voice is sort of here to stay, and so I think in all projects, wherever we operate, we need to be conscious of being transparent and demonstrating that what we do is great engineering, but it's also safe and it's also responsible. And actually, we shouldn't hide away from that. We should actually be proud of that we can demonstrate that we can deliver projects safely, responsibly, and actually we're bringing energy to transform and change people's lives.
So my heading would be fair treatment. So that refers to the locals and to the governments, and but also to the contractors. A little bit picking up what Stefano said. So I think we have to adapt maybe in the future also the basis and how we act and the procedures. Because fair treatment means not finally squeezing out the last penny. Not of a contractor, and also in saving programs, not that one is really down on the ground, because if you squeeze out the last penny, you can't expect that the other one helps you if you need the help. That also, of course, you have bidding processes as we have, but really we also want to have a relationship also with our contractors, being small or big, because only, that's clear, only all together will then bring the success.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've had a very good discussion. I've heard a lot about collaboration. I've heard a lot about respect. I've heard a lot about relationships. And I've also heard a lot about finding that right balance as a global player looking to address local needs. But I think in all of that, there has to be a conscience that it has to be a win-win on both sides of the equation, and we have to balance our needs and requirements as we go along. With that, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a round of applause to the audience here. Thank you very much, gentlemen.